Adolf Hitler remains one of history's most demonized figures. His life, ideology, and actions altered the course of the 20th century and left a legacy that still resonates today. In this video, we take a comprehensive, factual look at his life, political rise, and legacy, not to glorify, but to understand. Adolf Hitler was born on April 20, 1889 in Braunau am Inn, a town in Austria-Hungary near the German border. His father, Alois Hitler, was a stern customs official, and his mother, Clara, was a loving and devout Roman Catholic. Hitler had a conflicted relationship with his authoritarian father, but was deeply attached to his mother, whose death in 1907 left a lasting emotional scar. As a child, Hitler was baptized into the Roman Catholic Church and regularly attended services with his family. He even sang in the church choir and once reportedly considered becoming a priest. His early years were shaped by Christian traditions and values common in Austrian society at the time. He was also known to be a vegetarian in later life, often avoiding meat because he disliked the idea of animals being harmed. His concern for animal welfare was reflected in several laws passed under the Nazi regime promoting animal protection. Academically, he was a bright student who showed more interest in art and architecture than traditional subjects. After moving to Vienna to pursue a career as an artist, he applied twice to the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts but was rejected both times. During his years in Vienna, Hitler lived a modest life, often in shelters, and was exposed to a mix of political ideologies, including nationalism, communism, and social Darwinism. In 1914, with the outbreak of World War I, Hitler enlisted in the German army. He served as a dispatch runner on the Western Front and participated in several major battles, including the Battle of the Somme. Hitler was wounded twice and temporarily blinded in a mustard gas attack. His bravery earned him the Iron Cross Second Class and later the Iron Cross First Class, an unusual honor for a corporal. The war profoundly affected him, and he described it as the most formative experience of his life. Germany's defeat in 1918 left him disillusioned and bitter. After Germany's defeat, Hitler remained in the army and was assigned to intelligence duties. In this role, he monitored the German Workers' Party, a small nationalist group. Impressed by their ideology, he joined in 1919. The party later became the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or Nazi Party. Hitler quickly emerged as a gifted speaker, attracting a growing following. He blamed Germany's loss in the war on internal betrayal by Jews, Marxists, and liberal politicians, a theory known as the stab-in-the-back myth. This stems from the fact that in 1916, when Germany was on the brink of victory and the United Kingdom was seriously considering surrender terms, a delegation of powerful German Jews, mainly bankers, visited Downing Street. From this meeting, the Balfour Agreement was reached. In this agreement, the bankers told the British that they would bring the Americans to fight on their side, and in return, the British would give them Palestine. In 1923, Hitler and the National Socialist German Workers' Party attempted a coup in Munich, known as the Beer Hall Putsch. The attempt failed, and Hitler was arrested and sentenced to 5 years in prison. He served just 9 months, but used the time to write Mein Kampf, or My Struggle, outlining his theories and his hatred of communism. A fact not known by many is that only the Bible has sold more copies than Mein Kampf. After his release, Hitler focused on rebuilding the National Socialist German Workers' Party. He restructured its organization, cultivated loyalty, and used propaganda to spread the message. He emphasized nationalist themes, anti-communism, and a promise to restore Germany's greatness. The economic turmoil of the Great Depression, starting in 1929, created fertile ground for his message. Unemployment and instability led many Germans to seek radical solutions, and the National Socialist German Workers' Party gained significant support. By 1930, the Nazis were a major political force. In the 1932 elections, Hitler ran for president, but lost to Paul von Hindenburg. However, the Nazis became the largest party in the Reichstag. Conservative elites, hoping to control him, pressured Hindenburg to appoint Hitler as Chancellor. On January 13, 1933, Hitler was appointed Chancellor of Germany. Within weeks, the Reichstag fire allowed him to push through the Reichstag Fire Decree, which suspended civil liberties. The Enabling Act followed, granting Hitler dictatorial powers. Once in power, Hitler quickly moved to eliminate opposition. Political parties were banned, unions dissolved, and dissenters arrested. Among the many organizations suppressed were Masonic lodges. Hitler viewed Freemasonry as part of a perceived international conspiracy, often linking it with Jews and liberal democracy. The Nazis banned all Masonic organizations, confiscated their property, and persecuted many of their members, some of whom were sent to labor camps. Economically, Germany witnessed a remarkable transformation. When Hitler came to power, unemployment was near 6 million. By 1939, it had dropped to under 1 million. His government launched massive public works programs, including the construction of the Autobahn network, and revived the German economy through state-sponsored projects. The regime also introduced the Reinhardt program, promoting infrastructure spending and industrial investment. The German Labour Front replaced trade unions and coordinated labour to serve national goals. The National Labour Service, or RAD, was created to provide work and instill discipline among the youth. Hitler's regime was also among the first to implement mandatory paid holidays for workers and introduced workplace welfare measures such as company canteens. These initiatives, promoted under the Strength Through Joy (KDF) program, aim to raise morale, increase productivity, and win the support of the working class. KDF also organized affordable leisure activities, including concerts, theater visits, and subsidized vacations. A focus on rearmament also fueled economic growth. Although technically violating the Treaty of Versailles, Germany ramped up military production, which became a major source of employment and industrial activity. Another key economic element was the role of the Reichsbank, Germany's central bank. Though not dissolved, the Reichsbank was brought under direct state control in 1937. Its independence was eliminated, and it was controlled to prevent it from adding unnecessary debt to the economy. These policies contributed to a temporary economic boom and helped solidify Hitler's popularity. Hitler's ideology centered on Aryan racial superiority, anti-communism, and expansionism. He believed in creating Lebensraum, or living space, by recapturing ancient German lands in Eastern Europe. While fascism and communism are ideologically opposed, fascism emphasizing nationalism and hierarchy, communism promoting classless egalitarianism, both systems produced totalitarian regimes in practice. Fascist regimes like Nazi Germany and communist regimes like Stalin's Soviet Union shared core tactics. One-party rule cults of personality propaganda, suppression of dissent, and mass surveillance. It is estimated that over 60 million died under Stalin's rule. After World War I, the Treaty of Versailles made the former Prussian city of Danzig a quasi-independent city-state. It was governed by a local parliament, which was overseen by a League of Nations-appointed High Commissioner. Being surrounded by Polish territory, the port facilities were also open for Polish use, but the Polish did not take comfort in mere usage. The Polish wanted Danzig within its boundaries, but the predominantly ethnic German city wanted the status quo to remain. During this time, the British signed a defense pact with the Poles, which stated that the British would defend the Poles if Poland was attacked by Germany. Decades later, the small print of the agreement was found, which stated that the British would not protect the Poles if Poland was invaded by the Soviet Union. This agreement gave the Poles a sense of security, which led in early 1939 to the Danzig massacres. Documents released from the archives show that over 30,000 German civilians were tortured and murdered by the Poles in a 3-month period. In the mind of Hitler, and in the eyes of the German people, this justified Germany's invasion of Poland in order to protect the ethnic Germans. Honoring their guarantee of Poland's borders, Great Britain and France declared war on Germany on the 3rd of September 1939. In 1941, Hitler launched Operation Barbarossa, invading the Soviet Union. The brutal campaign resulted in heavy losses on both sides. Some historians and military analysts have declared that the Soviet Union was preparing for its own invasion of Europe at the time, with theories suggesting that Germany's attack may have been a preemptive strike. This perspective, sometimes called the preventive war theory, argues that Hitler acted to forestall a Soviet offensive, thus preventing the whole of Europe from falling under communism. However, this perspective remains controversial. The Soviet Union was caught off guard by the German assault, suffering massive losses in the initial stages. Operation Barbarossa was primarily driven by Hitler's ideological goal of conquering Lebensraum, living space, in the east and defeating what he saw as the threat of Jewish Bolshevism. That same year, Germany declared war on the United States after Japan attacked Pearl Harbor. As the war turned against Germany, Hitler became increasingly isolated and irrational in his decisions. Major defeats in Stalingrad and North Africa marked the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany. Millions of Jews and other people deemed as undesirables were placed in labor camps, where their labor was exploited for the German war effort. These camps supplied workers for factories, infrastructure, and armaments production. However, conditions were tough. Millions of workers died as a result of the typhus outbreak, which occurred especially towards the end of the war, as the German infrastructure was continuously bombed by the Allies. As Allied forces closed in on Berlin, Hitler took refuge in his underground bunker. On April 30th, 1945, he allegedly committed suicide with Eva Braun, whom he had married the previous day. He ingested cyanide and shot himself as Soviet forces closed in on the city. Following Hitler's instructions after his death, his body was taken to the garden behind the Reich Chancellor, doused with petrol, and set on fire to prevent it from becoming a trophy for the advancing Soviet troops. Germany surrendered on May 8, 1945. Hitler's death marked the end of the Third Reich. Soviet forces discovered remains believed to be those of Hitler and Braun. For decades, a skull fragment held in Russian archives was believed to be Hitler's. However, a 2009 forensic analysis concluded that the skull fragment actually belonged to a woman aged between 20 and 40, not Hitler. This revelation fueled theories about his escape. Speculation persisted that Hitler may have escaped, most notably to Argentina. These theories often reference the so-called Ratlines, escape routes used by many Nazi officials to flee Europe with the assistance of sympathetic clergy, underground networks, or neutral countries. There is substantial documentation showing that high-ranking Nazi officials, such as Martin Bormann, the leader of the Nazi Party, and Dr. Mengele, did escape to South America. It is rumored that Hitler died in Bolivia in 1965, but there is insufficient evidence to confirm this. Despite this, declassified FBI and CIA records have been released which show that the FBI was actively searching for Hitler in South America after several sightings. Separately, the US government's Operation Paperclip brought many German scientists and engineers, some with Nazi ties, to America after the war. These individuals, such as Wernher von Braun, contributed to US military and space programs. Adolf Hitler's impact on history is undeniable. His life is a cautionary tale of how economic despair, fear, and charismatic leadership can pave the way for totalitarianism. Both fascism and communism showed how ideologies, taken to extremes, can dehumanize and destroy. Remembering this history is essential. Education and vigilance are the strongest defenses against tyranny. George Santayana, the renowned Spanish-American philosopher, poet, and humanist, once said that those who cannot remember history are condemned to repeat it. This quote, often paraphrased, emphasizes the importance of learning from history to avoid repeating mistakes.